Welcome to 6 African Trade Talks, the show that brings you closer to the intra-Africa trade business world. I'm your host, Chad Chawanda. In this episode, we have Dr. Aderemi Banjoko. Dr. Banjoko is a medical doctor by profession. However, he's an avid private trader and investor in the financial markets with over 20 years experience. Dr. Banjoko, welcome to 6 African Trade Talks. How are you?
Hello, Chad. How are you? And great to be with you.
Thank you very much. Before we start our show, we'd like to hear a word from our sponsors.
Would you travel to Cape Town for business or leisure? What if you could combine the two? Well, you can with Optimum African Experience Cape Town Leisure Experience, with partners such as University of Cape Town, CEDA, Kadina, Luminary, and Prime Focus. Experience the best of Africa.
Dr. Banjoko, what is the one thing nobody knows about you? A 10 point in your life or something major that turned the course of your life?
It's very interesting. There is one thing that changed the course of my life because I am an open book, and most of my seminars and lectures and talks I do over the last 20 years, I share my whole life. So it's what a lot of people know about me anyway. But yes, the one thing that people who don't know me very well or been to my talks, they will know that, yes, the one thing that changed my life, the big turning point was me going through bankruptcy around 2006 in the UK, where I lost everything I had, completely bankrupt, went from having a lot to having nothing. So that was a huge turning point in my life.
Interesting. Thank you very much for sharing that. So tell us, who is Dr. Aderemi Banjoko?
Dr. Aderemi Banjoko is a very complex person, but but basically, in a nutshell, someone who values friends and impacting communities. So that's what really drives me as a person, drives what I do, what I get involved in. It's all about my family, my friends, and making an impact in the community. That's who Dr. Aderemi Banjoko is.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing. How did you get into trading in financial markets? What drove that passion?
Actually, it was by mistake, or it wasn't by design. And when I was in university, I was always an entrepreneur in university. So I've always liked being an entrepreneur, getting involved in businesses, even in university. So once I graduated from medical school and started working as a doctor in the UK, my first paycheck went into investing into real estate. So I was heavily into real estate, and that was the main thing I was doing then, and the main business I was doing then. But obviously, as an entrepreneur, you start to meet friends in the business world. You start to associate yourself with business people. And during my association with these business people, forming groups, getting new friends and partners, some of my friends that I began to associate with were traders and investors in the financial markets. And at the time, too, I was looking to find some other sources of income other than just real estate. So it was through these friends of mine who were already traders and investors I started learning from, getting the interest from. And of course, I found that I had a knack for it. It seemed to suit my personality, and of course, started to do more research, more studying on the financial markets, and then got heavily involved in it. So that's how it started, really. It was just for me looking for how I can create another source of income. And luckily, my friends were into it, and that's what got me into it.
You know, talk about the power of social influence or social capital. Your friends impacted you to get into something that you really love and enjoy, and that you've built into a career. Give us an insight of the financial market industry.
Now, the financial markets industry is a huge industry. It's something that I wish everyone knew about and everyone should take part in, because the beauty about the financial market is that it's global. It's easily accessible. Anyone can get involved. You don't need to have a university degree, know anyone, have contacts, know people. Anyone can get involved in this huge global market and profit from it. That's one thing I love about it. It's democratized. Anybody can get involved. And the beauty is that it's huge. Take, for instance, the currency market, for example, which I trade a lot. It's $1 trillion market. $1 trillion is traded every single day in the currency market. And of course, we know about the stock market, which I'm also heavily involved in. It's a global, huge market very liquid market that you can make a lot of money from. So that's what I love about the financial markets. You can do all this from the comfort of your home, comfort of your computer, your laptop, and have access to this huge world of making money. So that's what I love about it.
Interesting. You are in Africa, but you're participating in the financial markets across the globe or contributing to what's happening globally. So that's really great. And I think it would be good for a lot of people in Africa to also play in that space, vice versa. How do you think technology has impacted trade and investment when it comes to the financial markets in Africa? And what role do you see it play in the future?
Technology has been huge. In the past, when it came to making money and taking advantage of the riches you can make from the financial markets, in the past, it only tended to be brokerage houses and banks and big traders and big investors and very rich people, because they were the ones that had access. Because in the past, it was very expensive to access these global markets. But like you rightly said, with the advent of technology, and technology, as we know, has come in leaps and bounds. Now it's very easy for anyone to open a brokerage account. In fact, now with smartphones, you can have an app on your phone, have a brokerage account. Most of the brokerage accounts now, because there are so many of them, their fees are cheap. Some of them are free to open, and the commission fees are very low, and they give you access to the global market. So that's the beauty about technology. It has also made the financial market accessible to everyone through your smartphone device, your laptop, or what have you. And even now, talking about, apart from the global markets, because of technology, you find even the African stock exchanges, like the Nigerian Stock Exchange, Kenya Stock Exchange, South Africa Stock Exchange, they're actually now trying to combine all these exchanges and get people in Africa to have one single portal to access all these markets in Africa. So again, this is the huge advantage of technology. It's bringing this money-making machine to everyone. Of course, you need to be educated. You need to know what to do. I don't want to make it seem too simple. You need to know what to do and how to analyze and make wise decisions in the market. And you can easily learn that, is that how this platform is accessible to everybody due to technology.
Certainly. Thank you very much for sharing. Before we continue, we'd like to hear a word from our sponsors.
Would you travel to Cape Town for business or leisure? What if you could combine the two? Well, you can, with Optimum African Experience Cape Town Pleasure Experience, with partners such as University of Cape Town, CEDA, Kadena, Luminary, and Prime Focus. Experience the best of Africa.
Dr. Banjoko, what have you learned in your encounter between the work you do and your experience interacting with people from different cultures?
The biggest thing I've learned and come to appreciate is that financial illiteracy is a global problem. A study recently showed that up to about 45% of Americans are financially illiterate, and 2/3 of adults globally are financially illiterate. So that's one thing I found fascinating doing talks and seminars on the financial markets and money, whether it's been in the USA, in UK, Nigeria, in Ghana, wherever I've been. You find that most people don't understand money. They don't understand how to use money. They don't understand how to invest money. And of course, regardless of the culture or country where you come from, everybody wants financial security. Everybody wants to be financially secure, have enough for their retirement, but most of them don't know how to go about that. So that's one common thread I've found across board in my travels and meeting people, regardless of whether you're black, white, green, yellow, whether you're in Africa, North America, doesn't matter. That's the common thing I've found globally.
That's very powerful. When you look at it, you would think that in other places it's much better. But if 2/3 of the global population is illiterate financially, then we have a big problem and an opportunity as well to become better. So thank you very much for sharing. Based on your travel, what business opportunities do you see in Africa?
Agriculture, that's the big one. Agriculture is a huge, huge opportunity, which is one of the things I personally am taking advantage of being based back in Africa now, is the agriculture sector. because the opportunities there are just limitless. It's just too much to discuss. If you talk about right from producing, actually farming on the farm, to value add, to processing, to the international market, along the whole value chain, there are just opportunities across board when it comes to agriculture. And of course, as we know, in terms of arable land for agriculture, there's a huge amount of land available in Africa compared to other countries. So the land is there, the weather is there, the soil is there. Of course, the market is huge. In fact, the president of the Africa Development Bank, he said the next billionaires coming out of Africa would be farmers. So that's a huge market.
Thank you to our listeners. You heard it, agriculture. I also have a belief that agriculture is key. Thank you very much for sharing. In your experience as a businessman, who has conducted business within Africa and across the UK and USA, what is your opinion about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA?
The idea is a very good idea. I think obviously the implementation and the practicality is what we have to go through, and the political issues around it. But the mere idea of it is a bit like the European Union, because it's a lot easier and a lot more profitable trying to trade within your own borders. So for example, me being in Rwanda, I can easily just drive my produce across the border from Rwanda to Uganda to Burundi to DRC, and make a good profit instead of worrying about having to fly it over to Europe, to America. There's the logistics cost, there's the cost of flight, there are all the regulations this country's put on what you bring in. It won't cost you a lot of money just to fulfill all those regulations. Well, you can sell the same produce just to your neighbor around the corner. Yes, on the face of it, it's a good idea. If it works well, it's going to be huge for Africa if we can now start trading amongst ourselves. Because again, there's enough numbers within Africa for Africans to make a lot of wealth. There's enough for me as an African being in Africa to trade my produce in Kenya, in Nigeria, in Ghana. I mean, you can imagine if you have a market like South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda, what else do you need? You can't even satisfy those markets. You can't even satisfy them. There's a huge demand. So yes, I think on the face of it is a very, very good idea. Let's just hope it can work out in practice.
Certainly. And we are there to contribute the little we can, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
Any books or podcasts you'd like to recommend?
I'd certainly like to recommend Chad's podcast to start with.
Thank you.
And the two books I'll certainly love to recommend. One is called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. I hope that's the correct title. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by Harv Eker. That's T. Then Harv Harv Eker. Harv Eker. It's a very, very good book, because usually when it comes to creating wealth, creating financial stability, all starts with the mind. If you don't have the right mindset, you're not going to do anything. You really have to have a certain kind of mindset to begin to start taking advantages of opportunities around you, because there's always opportunities around you. It's just whether you have the correct mindset to do what you need to do. So that's always very important. And that's why I always recommend that book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by Harv Eker. And the second book, which I'll highly recommend, is 7 Powers, The Foundations of Business Strategy by Helmer. Because again, this book gives you to create a profitable business. So those are the 2 books I'll recommend.
My business is growing. Thanks to Avocado Africa, digital marketing is the way to go. I get to know what my customers want and how they feel in real time. Besides, I choose how much to spend. I feel in control. If you want to take control of your marketing, contact Avocado Africa now. Visit www.avocadoafrica. Avocado Africa. We mind your business.
Africa is a continent full of potential, but potential means nothing if we don't take action to create value. Let us take action. Thank you for listening to this episode. Don't forget to post and share this episode on your social media platforms. It will help us reach our mission of sharing knowledge about intra-Africa trade and making it available to as many people as possible. Let us grow our continent. We can go far, fast, together. If you can please leave a review on our podcast page or on Apple Podcasts.